I had no idea the British press was so bigoted.
This one's wife. Nigerians hammer the fraud. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Well, the 3-day tour of Nigeria has concluded. This one's wife cosplayed as being a royal, wandering around in some outfits that were inappropriate, others that didn't fit, and drinking up all of the fuel. It was meant to be a trip about Invictus, although, of course, the majority of it was designed to enable this one's wife to make herself look good and to gather footage for the purposes of Netflix. This one's wife floated around, drinking up the fuel, managing the facade. There were a few gaffes. There were some collateral consequences of her narcissism, as been pointed out. And whilst there are others that hail the visit as a triumph, there are others that point out the cost. There are others that point out that the majority of Nigerians had no interest in them. The majority of Nigerians have got bigger problems to think about than a lady who plays at being black and her ginger prince coming to visit. Previously, I provided you with some of the views of Nigerians, and now we're going to turn to the views of some Nigerian diaspora who share their observations about this one's wife claiming to be Nigerian and her behaviours. These individuals hold various roles in the United Kingdom, but are from Nigeria, and therefore they look on their country with understandable pride, and it provides them with an opportunity to comment about this one's wife and her claims to be 43% Nigerian. What do they think about that? What do they think about her claiming to be one of them? What do they think about her essentially claiming that Nigeria is her country? Are they impressed by this? Are they delighted by the fact that the Duchess of Delusion has decided that she is going to align herself with Nigeria? Well, as you'll see and hear, they aren't impressed. In fact, she gets a good old hammering. So, let's begin.
I feel like she's going to add to the negative list that we already have in Nigeria. For example, do you say Duchess of, what is it called?
Duchess of
Sussex, yeah. And she's been branded different names, and then she's going to add to the list of we are known to be terrorists, 419, whatever. And now she's come to join the list of the Brazilian Meghan that they call her. She comes in with a diva attitude and all the rest. No, I don't. I'm not proud.
You're not proud.
But rather, I'm more curious as to why she chose to be in it.
Straight out of the gate, this one's wife suffers the criticism of contributing to the list of negative things that are said about Nigeria. Amusingly, they don't even know what her title is, showing the disregard they had for her. As the lady asks, it's the Duchess of What's It Called. Perhaps we ought to change this one's wife to the Duchess of What's It Called for a while. The lady expresses her concern that all this one's wife is going to do is add to the list of perceptions of Nigeria that are negative. For instance, terrorism, 419 frauds. The fact that she has this diva attitude. Imagine that. This one's wife, who believes that she's a lovable, admirable, kind, empathic person, is viewed as being on a par with terrorism and 419 frauds. If you're not familiar, 419 is the relevant part of the Nigerian Penal Code, which relates to the crimes that were committed as people inviting you to send money in order to enable them to then release a larger sum to you. The Nigerian email scams that some of you may well have received and indeed will have heard about. But imagine that. You're this one's wife and you think you're so special, and you have somebody from Nigeria who's saying, actually, my concern is that you're just making things worse. You're going to make people think negatively about our country. You're as bad as terrorism. You're as bad as 419 frauds. Not exactly the image that this one's wife wants.
She chose to be a Nigerian.
You know, I like her for who she is, but she hasn't added value to Nigeria as a country. You know, I'm more interested in what this
Her motive.
DNA thing that they said they did, that she's 43%. I mean, I don't know. I don't trust it unless I am convinced.
This one's wife is perceived as not adding value. Here, the assertion is that this one's wife has proclaimed that she's 43% Nigerian, and immediately these Nigerians are skeptical as to the veracity of such a claim. Lady explains that she's interested in viewing the DNA result because she simply doesn't trust it. Thus, once again, this one's wife comes out with a proclamation, and she's met with skepticism. Hardly surprising. And also remember that these individuals are proud of their country. They're proud of their identity as Nigerians. And they rightly question Janie come lately, wandering along going, "Ooh, hello, I'm 43% Nigerian." Not only do you question that as to whether that's actually something that you can do, after all, the concept of Nigeria is a nation state. The actual genealogy would link to tribes vis-a-vis ethnicity. But also, it's clear that they aren't particularly keen on her aligning herself with them. And that's why they're skeptical as to whether this 43% claim is actually true.
I was really shocked. I was like, why Nigerian? Out of all states or country, she chose Nigerian. And how far is that true that she is actually is it
Nigerian.
41%?
43%.
43%. I don't understand,
You want to see the proof?
Yes, definitely.
Further skepticism of this one's wife as to why she chooses to align herself with Nigeria. They want to know, how far is it true? They don't understand. They want to see the proof behind these claims. If she were a delightful individual who hadn't been problematic, they may be less cynical about her. They may well have wanted to welcome her with open arms. But you can tell that these individuals recognize that she's a troublemaker, not a likable person, and therefore they're really loath to accept that she could be anything like them. Thus, this one's wife's getting a few hammer blows, but here comes some more with the suggestion that she's not a Nigerian.
Her actions tells me she's not a Nigerian. For example, if a Nigerian girl were lucky enough or whatever, marry into the royal family, I think she would know what to do. I think she would have respected her in-laws because that's the way we were cultured. We have aunties, uncle, we have extended family. She would have respected her extended family. And before you know, a Nigerian woman would have earned the queen's love and respect that she would start cooking jollof rice within the royal families. And I believe the queen would have been eating jollof rice before she passed away.
And that would have been better.
That would have been that. Then I would have known she's a Nigerian woman. In all of the things that she has done, nothing. The only thing that I could say probably linked her to a Nigerian is that she looked pretty like Nigerian women.
This is
That's all. She looked pretty like a Nigerian woman, and she has a sense of fashion like a Nigerian woman. Sure. Other than that, in terms of mannerism, she's completely.
Ouch. That's a good hammering that this one's wife has received, as she suggested that it suggested she isn't a Nigerian because she failed to respect her in-laws. That the speaker explains that when you're Nigerian, you respect your in-laws. That's how you behave. She gets a little bit of a compliment in terms of looking pretty and her sense of fashion aligning with being Nigerian, but her lack of respect, her fractious relationships with her in-laws is deemed not to be Nigerian, and that's a hefty criticism that this one's wife receives. Naturally, this one's wife won't accept that she's the problem. It's the in-laws that are the problem, she's the victim. Nevertheless, they identify with a particular character trait that they would have expected to see in her, and the fact that its absence causes them to state that she's not a Nigerian, words that this one's wife wouldn't want to hear. Yet, There's another hammering right ahead with regard to how she has behaved. Let's hear what's said.
You don't approve of her actions, even when she's trying to explain that is tough here. You think a Nigerian woman would have handled it differently?
Oh, yes.
Yes, they will handle it differently. I mean, we're talking about royal family. It's big. It's culture. She needed to actually back down and just kind of like, flow with whatever. Because all those things she put out there, they were all negatives about the royal family. I mean, you coming out there to just damage the royal family like that, and then you think, everything is fine. And then all of a sudden you're saying you're Nigerian. No, you're not Nigerian, because we have wives who are married to princes in Nigeria, and they don't act this way. Like Mr. Dugue rightfully said, they respect. We are very cultured. We respect. We are mannered. We respect our husbands and everything, even if the
And your
husband
in-laws.
has.
Some pretty hefty criticisms there with regard to how she ought to have handled herself differently. That she should have just got on with it as her role within the royal family, and that they disapprove of the negativity that she's exhibited towards the royal family. They say again she's not Nigerian, pointing out that they have Nigerian women who've married Nigerian princes who do not behave in the way that she has done, the complaining, the attacks, etc. And it's evident that this group are singularly unimpressed with the way that she has behaved, that they regard her attempts to try and change the royal family as distinctly non-Nigerian behaviour.
I'm taking you out. I don't want to have royal duties anymore and everything. As a woman, she is meant to be telling Harry to say no, because they're all going to think it's me. Please, we can work it out. We can do this, we can do that.
Absolutely.
But she didn't. Instead, she ran over there. And now she's saying she's what? Nigerian? No, you're
No,
not.
she's not. No, she's not.
I think she went into the royal family thinking she's going to change the narrative, and it just didn't work.
No.
And she did not want to work with the people in the palace. She was fighting with Catherine. Nothing was good enough
For her.
For her. You should be proud they even accepted you to come into the...
As a divorcee.
Yes,
When she was in the palace, she could have said she was a Nigerian. Then she could have invited us to the palace to give us some advice, give us some coaching, some Nigeria coaching. How we behave in Nigeria, how we respect our in-laws and stuff like that. Now that she thinks that she is a Nigerian, the only advice I would give to her is she needs to go to Nigeria and learn some manners. She needs to go to Nigeria and learn some Nigerian manners.
If she was in a palace, I mean, then she proclaimed that she's Nigerian. Then maybe she would have gone to the, what's it called now, our royals back home, to sit with the wives and let them give us some coaching on how to actually conduct yourself as a royal wife.
And another hammer blow in relation to her attempts to change the royal family. They can see that she didn't want to work with them, that she didn't want to work in the royal family, that she did nothing to try and make it work. Reference is made to her fighting with Catherine. And interestingly, they explained that she needs to go to Nigeria to actually learn some manners. How about that, this one's wife? You have a group of Nigerians pointing out that your behaviour is distinctly non-Nigerian, that they simply do not approve of the way that you have conducted yourself, and that you need to learn some manners. It's a hammering, it's a scolding, it's a telling off. All of it's challenge fuel for this one's wife, were she aware of it. But it gives you useful insight into the fact that there are people who are not conned by her behaviour, that they have decent values, they see straight through the way she has conducted herself, and they reject her attempt to suggest that it is her country and that she is Nigerian. She's been given a good hammering. Richly deserved, of course, and all salient points being made by people who cannot, of course, be accused of being racist. They are simply presenting the evidence. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.